It's bright and early. Are you a morning person in general, or?
Oh, you know what's weird? In my life, when I was a kid, I was a morning person because I had a paper route. It was back when they let kids still have that job.
Back when there were papers?
Well, To Catch a Predator was what killed that fuck. Oops, that's what killed that job. Am I allowed to curse on this?
Yes, you are.
Okay. And then when I became a comedian, obviously was not getting the prime spots, so I was working late nights, food spots and all that. Then I became a night person, so I can kind of do both.
Yeah, most comedians I find are not morning people.
Oh, I like getting up in the morning.
Yeah.
I do. I actually feel like you get a jump in the day. I feel like if I ever sleep past like 9 o'clock, I feel like lazy loser. I wasted the day.
Yeah. Well, you have the Monday morning podcast, so that has morning right in the title.
Yes,
there.
it does. Yes, it does. But it means that I record it in the morning. People think that means it comes out in the morning, so there was a little confusion. If I could have renamed it, I would have said the Monday morning recording of my podcast, so people wouldn't be,
Yeah, you've had the podcast for quite a while now, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
2007, I think, is when I first started doing it. I got into it accidentally. I was hanging out with this comedian, Robert Kelly, and I was over his podcast, over his house, and we was still MySpace days. And he goes, dude, you should do this. It's called like a podcast. I'm like, what's that? He goes, it's another way to connect with your fans. So I would just do like that. Back then, you just called in a service on like my flip phone, and I would call in and just talk for 5 minutes, joke around, and then mention where my gigs were going to be. And then it just 5 minutes became 6, became 8. It was almost like building an act. And then I was like, you guys write some questions in, blah, 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 blah. And then they started writing questions. I was able to expand it more. We had the overrated, underrated, and just kind of built from there. And then everybody else descended on it and just ran with it. And we had these amazing, like this, studios and stuff. I still do mine the way I did it. I probably should have expanded. I'm like that old lady that made pies and never sold the recipe. Everybody else franchised. Kind of missed the boat, but it's fun.
Yeah, I mean, what do you like about, what do you kind of get out of doing the podcast that you as opposed to stand up? They're very different.
It's a great way to connect with the fans. It's a great way to make people laugh. I also remember having a number of day jobs that I hated. And Monday sucked. So that's why I wanted to put it out on Monday, to give somebody something to laugh at when they were driving to work. And even though looking back, Tuesday was always the worst day. Tuesday dragged the most. I remember on Monday, you were still shaking off whatever you did on the weekend. So it kind of flew to lunchtime. But it sucked knowing that you were back. But then Tuesday you came in, I was like, oh, man, this is real. I work here.
Well, this show comes out on Tuesday, so that's
there you
good.
go.
Yeah.
So you give people some entertainment on a Tuesday. Yeah, there wasn't nearly the level of entertainment, I guess, options that you had when I was coming up. So it's good and bad. Like, it's like...
You have a really incredible ability to just talk into a mic by yourself for a long time, which I think is a pretty unique skill. And different from stand-up, too, don't you think? Because you don't have an audience that you're kind of bouncing off of. So how did you kind of learn to do that? Or was it easy from the start?
From years of talking to myself like a crazy person. No, I would say, no, it wasn't easy at first. I would run out of things to say, so... It was just like being a comedian. So I was comfortable doing 5 minutes, and I became comfortable doing 6, and then 7. And, I just kind of have the idea what I want to start with, and then I just kind of go. And there's people like that that don't necessarily do like a podcast that can really, do stuff like that. So I don't know. I didn't really think about it that much. I didn't know that they were going to grow into what they grew into. I never... the whole thing was people listen, it'll make more people show up with whatever funny bone I was playing at. Like I never saw it. Like, it's funny that they call them podcasts. I mean, it's a radio show on the internet. It's the same thing. So that's what's always funny when these older guys on radio, I don't get it. Like, what is a podcast? It's like, well, what you're doing.
It's the same.
Yeah. I mean, not at their pro level, because you got to respect that those guys probably actually went to like broadcasting school.
Didn't you study radio?
Yeah, but only because I was such an introvert and nervous to get in front of people that I chose radio, because it was being on the microphone talking to people, but I couldn't see them. So it was my baby step way. I had never had any intentions of doing radio. It was all to overcome mic fright and talking in front of people and being painfully shy in really most situations. It was weird. Like when I was with people I was comfortable with, I'm kind of like the guy I am now.
Mm-hmm.
But then 90% of other social situations, I would just completely shut down and be quiet until I got like comfortable, like 6 months into the situation. And then all of a sudden people just, Jesus Christ, what happened to you?